Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The spiritual revolution through Ahmadiyyat. Why a spiritual revolution was needed? Once, Zayd bin Labid, radiallahu anhu, asked Prophet Muhammad that how could the religious knowledge vanish from among us, despite that we recite the Holy Quran, and our generations will keep on doing so till the last day. To this question, Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, gave an evidence-based answer. Don't you see the Jews and the Christians? They read Torah and Injil, but do not follow what is written in there. Ibn Majah, Kitab al-Fitn. And then a well-referred to hadith. Hazrat Ali, radiallahu anhu, narrated Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, mentioning about a time not far in the future when nothing of Islam will be left except its name, and nothing of Quran will be left but its letters. Mishkatul Masabi, Kitabul Ilm, Part 3. These and many other sayings of Prophet Muhammad point to an era when the spiritual message of the Holy Quran, which should have been dictating the conduct of its followers, would be generally ignored. The name Islam would not essentially define the good character and behavior. Instead, it will be used simply as a physical identity by a group of people. Attributes of the spiritual revolution according to Ahadith. Many illustrations by Holy Prophet Muhammad himself in Hadith direct us to the appearance of a Messiah and a Mahdi, who at a later time, after Prophet Muhammad, will reinstate the spiritual light of Islam on the pedestal it deserves. I will provide a summary from those Ahadith. Such was destined to be the spiritual status of the promised one, that Prophet Muhammad asked his followers to convey his salam to him and to reach out to him even if they have to bear severe hardship in that course. He mentioned that the promised leader would be one from among the Muslims, a family man whose end will be like that of Prophet Muhammad himself. And following that, there will be a rise with those, among those like Abu Bakr and Umar, radiallahu anhuma. Muslim fellowship would be scattered and divided at that time, and he would hold the office of the authority and judge on matters of the differences and discord. In a word, full of tyranny and aggression, his message of justice and fairness will prevail, and jealousy, malice, and hatred will be removed. He will not use militant means to promote his message, yet he will succeed in breaking through the contemporary religious misconceptions. And this will occur despite those misconceptions being upheld by the technologically advanced and dominant nations of his time. The promised one will reestablish the faith back to its glory, even if it had become fragmented, faint, and intermittent as the cluster of the Pleiades when seen from the earth. The community is also mentioned. Verse 3 and 4 of Surah Jummah point that Allah in his might and wisdom will create a community later after the time of the Holy Prophet that will be taught and purified in the same way as the companions of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. Prophet Muhammad told his followers that Khilafat, traceable to prophethood, will be re-established among them. Prophet Muhammad called these devotees as brothers, for whom he will be a predecessor near the pond of Kausar in the life hereafter. He mentioned of those people who will originate from the east and work for the mission of Mahdi. Meager may be their means, but they will be protected against the influence of Dajjal. The promised Messiah himself will cleanse them and inform them of their rewards in Jannat. They will be peace-loving. Helpless may they be against the might of the warring factions of their time, yet they will be saved, as they will be guided to the safety of supplication, in communion with Allah, like Moses to the mountain of Tur. Secluded and cornered may they become, and face scarcity of resources, yet they will keep on praying. It is their prayers that will be heard by Allah the Almighty, and through those prayers, peace and prosperity will return to the land. Extracted from many different ahadith, what I have read here is in gist the spiritual revolution of Imam Mahdi, the promised Messiah, and his followers. In their spiritual status, it is their spiritual status as visualized by Prophet Muhammad. It should be, and it is, the spiritual revolution of Ahmadiyyat. Examples of spiritual revolution. The rest I will talk is just a brief portrayal of various corollaries of the above-mentioned predictions of Hadith. In fact, a number of speeches during this Jalsa Salana have elegantly elaborated the spiritual revolution through Ahmadiyyat. Hence, I will only highlight some aspects of the information already given by other speakers. I'll try to cover 2 or probably more of the following topics: supplicating a living God, religious peace, Jalsa Salana, and Khilafat. Supplicating a living God. Promised Messiah reintroduced the word to a living and loving God. He comprehensively wrote and spoke about this. For example, for English readers, a selection of his writings on this topic is available in a book titled The Essence of Islam, Volume 1, Chapter 2 is dedicated to this. In 1893, Promised Messiah wrote a book titled Barakatud Dua. Its English translation has been published as Blessings of Prayers. Also, exactly 100 years ago, during Jalsa Salana Qadian in December 1916, Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Sani delivered a speech which has been published under the title Zikr-e-Ilahi, or Remembrance of Allah. Despite a clear mention in their holy book, Holy Quran, about the acceptance of prayers, many Muslims deviated from the spirit of prayers. Instead of an effective vehicle of communication with and seeking support from an almighty, all-powerful, prayers and supplications became a mere ritual for them. Heartfelt and tearful requests during sajda and ruku got substituted by just enchantment of words. Some began to think of prayers as a kind of placebo, which only generated a pseudo feeling of relief and strength. Some others turned to the graves of various religious figures of the past and made those graves into features for prostration to get their grants through the prayers to those dead ones. For some, prayers became a business for financial gains. Many thought it is a matter of the past that God ever manifested his hand in the life of people. Such miracles happen no longer, they believed. All these matters were addressed and corrected by Promised Messiah and by his followers under his guidance. Promised Messiah wrote, God's grace comprehends all peoples, all countries, and all ages, lest any people should complain that God bestowed his bounties upon others and not upon them. By bestowing his grace upon all, he removed all these objections, and out of his vast qualities, he did not deprive any people or any age of his physical or spiritual bounties. On different occasions, he visited the graves of various religious figures. He prayed for them and not to them. We Ahmadis turn to our Almighty in sincere prayers to seek his input into our actions and decisions. For Ahmadis, prayers and supplications is not essentially a job only for old people when they are better for nothing else, or a task assigned to a group of people secluded in a convent. It is an all-time affair for day-to-day matters of practical life. We may be imams, IT experts, students, cab drivers, moms, dads, or kids. We remember Allah everywhere during our work, trade, house chores, school runs, unisemesters, fun, and homework. We pray for everyone. Apart from regular text of Salat in Arabic, we supplicate in our own language, Sindhi, Punjabi, Dari, English, Urdu, Pichanjara, Bao-Fijian, whatever it may be. Promised Messiah said, people have special affection with their mother tongue and competent in its use. Despite much fluency and command, a feeling of alienation remains in the use of a second language. Therefore, one should supplicate in the mother tongue. Malfuzat, Volume 2, page 146. He advised his followers to intertwine their professional and spiritual responsibilities. For example, to the medical professionals, he once said, physicians and doctors should become God-fearing. They should prescribe medicine and pray as well. Especially, they should pray a lot in solitude. Malfuzat, Volume 1, page 252. Ahmadiyya history records the name Muhammad Alam Kandhari, a famous herbalist who lived in Adelaide, South Australia. He writes, all day long, Muhammad Alam dispenses comfort to the hearts of his followers, and at night, whilst others slumber or seek their worldly pleasures, he is laboring in his laboratory or is at the feet of the Almighty God in prayers for suffering humanity. Islam in Australia, 1863-1932. This indeed is an example of the spiritual revolution through Ahmadiyya, a revolution to bring the creation closer to the Creator, a revolution that emanated from a small township of Qadian and is now reaching the corners of the earth, including Australia. Religious peace. One distinct feature of Ahmadiyya's spiritual revolution is about changing hearts and minds with reason, argument, and service to humanity, and not with coercion, fear, violence, and intimidation. This feature is traceable to the words of Hadith that describes the attributes of the promised Messiah. Thus it is said, Jazan al-Jizya, Sahih Muslim, Sahih Bukhari, or in a narration from Bukhari, Jaza'ul Harb, implying that the spiritual revolution of the promised Messiah will not be accomplished through invasion of lands and colonization of countries, or by militant means or wars. The Holy Quran clearly offers a freedom of choice in matters of faith. For example, addressing the Holy Prophet, Allah the Almighty says, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا مُبَشِّرًا وَنَذِيرًا قُلْ مَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ مِنْ أَجْرٍ إِلَّا مَنْ شَاءَ أَنْ يَتَّخِذَ إِلَىٰ رَبِّهِ سَبِيلًا. And we have not sent you, but a bearer of glad tidings and of honor. Say, I ask of you no recompense for it, save that whoso chooses may take a way into this his Lord. Then there's a well-quoted verse, part of the well-quoted verse of chapter 2 from Al-Baqarah, La ikraha fid din, that is, there should be no compulsion in religion. Promised Messiah has mentioned a lot on this topic. On September 2016, the present head of our community, while he was addressing the Parliament of Canada, he delivered an address on the topic of human values, the foundation of a peaceful world. He said, let me reassure all of you that Islam is not what you commonly see or hear portrayed in the media. As far as my knowledge of Islam is concerned, I only know that Islam whose teachings are based on its name. The literal meaning of the word Islam is peace, love, and harmony, and all of its teachings are based upon these noble values. I conclude, and in conclusion, I would like to read an extract from a speech that was delivered on 30th of September 1983 by Hazrat Khalifatul Masih IV while laying the foundation stone of this mosque. He said, it is a program of spiritual victories, not of geopolitical dominations. It is a grand plan of winning hard, not of coercing others to submission. It is a war of reason and argument, which at no stage will be fought with physical weapons, ancient or modern. It is a message which addresses itself to the peace of mind. It is a grand scheme of to rehumanize man and to establish a living relationship between him and his Creator. It is a struggle and enterprise requiring on our part extreme self-sacrifice, hard labor, patience, and steadfastness. Jazakumullah ta'ala.